Looking to the year ahead, are the EU economy's green shoots outnumbering the dark spots? What dangers are there inside and outside the EU? Could struggling EU countries lapse back into crisis as they try to comply with EU-mandated reforms of their economies and budgets? And with those governments weakened by high unemployment fueling populist dissent, is there really the will to stick to the plan? Is France's recent credit downgrade another warning of signs to come? Will Germany continue propping up its Eurozone partners? Hello, I'm Chris Burns, and welcome to The Network, hard talk with a matrix of newsmakers. Wired into this edition, here in Brussels, Karsten Brzeski, senior economist at ING Bank. From Athens, Annie Podimata, who is vice president of the European Parliament and a member of the Socialists and Democrats, or S&D. And in Brussels, Scholt Darvash of the economic think tank Bruegel. Thanks all for joining us. A question for all of you, starting with Karsten. The European Commission predicts 1.4% growth in 2014, with unemployment remaining at 11%. How politically sustainable is that? Do you agree with those figures?
I would agree with these figures. I think the Eurozone has more or less taken the turn for the better, but unfortunately not yet for the good. And I think 2014 will be the year in which we still have to carry on the big backpack of the legacy of the burden from the past, which is high debt and high unemployment. So it means a risky issue.
Okay, so but is that big backpack going to maybe crush certain governments trying to deal with that? Annie might know more about that. Annie.
Absolutely, but I think the situation that you describe is not sustainable, not only politically but also socially and economically. So I think that we need to change path, to change direction, and to give some substance to what the Commission itself suggests through its annual growth survey for 2014. That means proceed with concrete actions, not only with words, into a growth-friendly fiscal consolidation.
So you think more needs to be done. Scholt, is this politically sustainable, or does something really need to be done in addition to what's being done now?
Now, the Commission always used to be optimistic about the future. I'm not that optimistic. And one reason is indeed sustainability. In some countries, unemployment is so high that you can never exclude that a more populist government will come into power. And if that would happen, that may give rise to a new crisis.
Right, then at Standard & Poor's raising Spain's outlook from negative to stable. So that's a positive angle. But more than 1 in 4 Spaniards, as you were talking about, Scholt, is out of work. How dangerous is that for the economic policy of Spain? Karsten.
I think, of course, it's dangerous. I think you have to make a distinction right now between the economic cycle, which is improving, and the fundamental issues, which are still high government debt and high unemployment. So the cycle clearly is improving, but the risk for governments clearly remains, because it will still take a long while before we get rid of these mass unemployment numbers.
Okay, then Annie, do you see elections this coming year as perhaps weakening the resolve of governments to stick to the line when it comes to those EU-mandated austerity policies?
According to all the Gallups, the surveys, there is a huge number of European citizens, and not only from the crisis, more struck from the crisis, but from all over Europe, that put a lot of questions. They are not confident towards the European project. So that it's a clear sign that we need to change path and we need to do more now.
Scholt, do you think bailouts, there'll be more of them for Portugal, for other countries this year?
Portugal, I think, will need a kind of support, either a precautionary financial assistance program or possibly a support from the European Central Bank in the form of these outright monetary transactions. But the coming quarters will tell us how much economic growth will pick up in the country. If it will disappoint, a program will certainly be needed.
Okay, Scholt, you're rather careful about committing on bailouts. What do you think, Karsten? Do you see bailouts ahead in the crystal ball?
I think for Portugal, it's rather obvious that we will need a second package. How many they're going to do it, and the other big issue will be Greece. We probably will have to discuss about a third package for Greece and/or debt forgiveness.
Okay, Annie, what do you think for Greece?
Well, I think that there is a commitment taken by our partners that in April 2014, and in the light of the data that we will have at that time regarding the primary surplus, further measures will be taken in order to make sure that debt sustainability is achieved.
Okay, then, Scholl, let me turn this around a bit. Everybody's sounding, all of you guys are sounding rather pessimistic. Do you think we could see deflation this coming year, or a trend toward deflation?
In the euro area as a whole, I don't expect deflation. But in a number of countries, this is already ongoing. One is Greece, but also in Spain, Portugal, and Ireland, inflation rates are very low and even in the negative territory. And these countries have major adjustment needs ahead. So in these countries may indeed face deflation in the coming years.
Okay, so then in that case, I don't know, Carsten, if you agree with that, but do you think there should be a more stimulatory policy, loosen the Stability Pact, for instance?
No, I don't think that we should loosen the Stability Pact, but I think what's going to happen is that the European Central Bank will have to do more. I think that we will see the European Central Bank actually doing kind of really unprecedented action to fight deflation and to further stimulate credit growth and to help the Eurozone economic recovery.
Annie, I think you're sort of indicating loosen the Stability Pact, right?
In order to make the situation more sustainable right now, economically, politically, and socially, we need to shift from front-loading fiscal consolidation to back-loading.
All right, Scholl, do you think the ECB should start buying assets, as the OECD suggests?
I think so. The ECB should do whatever it takes to avoid a low inflationary environment. Now, one option is quantitative easing, buying assets, both government and private sector assets. Another option is lowering the deposit rate below zero.
Right.
These issues are discussed within the ECB, and I hope they will come out with a conclusion in the near future.
Well, it's true. I mean, you say you're quoting Mario Draghi, head of the ECB, saying doing whatever it takes, but they've still stopped short about buying assets. Carsten, could you see that this coming year?
I think I can see it coming, but the whole thing, it is technically highly complex and complicated. So I think they will try everything to do it. What I rather imagine is a negative deposit rate and probably some kind of conditional liquidity, which means a kind of funding for lending scheme like the Bank of England is already conducting.
Okay, and we talk about countries in crisis, but the S&P downgraded the Netherlands from AAA. That means only Germany, Luxembourg, and Finland are AAA, at least in the books of the S&P. How stable, in the light of that, how stable is the euro? Annie?
I do think that the euro is stable, but I also think that this downgrade that you mention demonstrates that we have not been very consistent in the policies taken so far. And when I'm saying consistent, I mean that we haven't made as a priority to tackle the crisis with policy measures at the European level. We have endorsed fragmented and approaches nationally orientated,
okay.
And this is something that needs to be changed, I think.
Okay, let's go to Zsolt. Do you think how stable is the euro? We've got very little time left. Go ahead.
I see two major risks. One is economic, the second is political. The economic risk is that if growth will disappoint in Italy, a country that has very high public debt, more than 130% of GDP.
And it faces potentially even more unrest this coming year.
Indeed. Then markets,
the president said in Italy.
Yeah, markets may lose confidence and a new financial crisis may start. And the second is political. In countries when there is a very high unemployment, we cannot exclude that a more populist party will come into power, and again that will be the seeds of a new crisis.
Carsten, through a glass darkly, or as darkly?
No, I think the euro is stable for the next coming years. Of course, there are high risks there, but I think the cycle is turning. We see a slight turn for the better. The big thing is actually what will be the end game for the monetary union. And here, I think the European elections could give us more idea on where the eurozone is heading to.
Thanks, all. That's all the time we've got for now. I'd like to thank our guests, Carsten Brzeski, Annie Podimata, and Zsolt Darvaš. I'm Chris Burns, and until next time, thanks for connecting with the network.